Hi guys, so in today's video we're going to be reviewing an incredibly special pair of custom Nike Phantom GT Elite boots which are in the box in front of me. Of course these are not any standard pair of Phantom GTs. This particular pair will actually match issue to England captain Harry Kane to wear during the UEFA Euro 2020 tournament this summer. This pair feature a number of modifications over the standard model of Phantom GTs which were released to the public, so stick around if you would like to see every single detail of the England captain's boots. Okay, so let's start off with the box itself. This pair come in the classic style orange Nike box rather than the silver version which you would find on regular release Elite boots. Now the sizing label or model label which Nike apply to their top sponsored players football boots is actually different to what you'd find on standard boxes. So this pair feature the athlete's name, which obviously in this case is Harry Kane, the club, Tottenham Hotspur, and then beneath that the model, which is the Phantom GT Elite, SG Pro, and then the colourway beneath that. Let's jump into the box then. So here's a first look at the left boot of Harry Kane's custom Nike Phantom GT Elite, and immediately you'll already notice some modifications. So first of all, let's start off with the sole plate. This sole plate is the SG Pro variant, which has been lifted from the 2011-12 era models of the Tiempo Legend and the CTR 360. Now this sole plate would provide Harry Kane with a much better balance during match use. The stud configuration itself features 4 SG studs in the front with 2 in the rear, along with 2 moulded studs in the rear and 5 moulded studs in the forefoot. Now this configuration does provide much better balance for the player, especially with the sole plate construction itself, especially through the midfoot. The Phantom GT Elite retail version sole plate features a strengthening bar down the side, the lateral side, and there's just exposed upper material on the medial side. Now, whilst this aesthetically may be good, performance-wise it's just not going to be as good, especially at the professional level, as this sole plate here. Now you'll notice this is actually the identical mould from the 2011-12 Tiempo and CTR models, to the point where the actual midfoot Nike swoosh logo is still there. It's just been blanked out. So obviously from a distance you can't see it, however up close it does become apparent. Now these lines here on the graphic print on the retail version are actually lifted, however obviously here you can see it's just a print. Now you'll notice the 2 moulded studs in the rear of the boot feature a strengthening bar which comes off of the stud itself and runs up to the midfoot. Obviously this provides more stability for the player. Now Harry Kane also modifies his FG variant Phantom GT Elite. He actually wears the Tiempo Legend 4 sole plate on the FG version. Again, opting for a completely custom plate rather than the standard retail version. Now still to this day there are many other elite players at the very top level of the game who are sponsored by Nike that do use that same modified sole plate on their modern day versions of boots. Harry Kane's England teammate John Stones is another player. Here we can see it on his Phantom Venom Elite boots. It's the exact same sole plate, again made transparent for disguising purposes. Okay, so let's take a look at the right boot then. You may notice straight off the bat that the shape of the right boot is slightly different to the left boot. Now this is because they are completely custom made to measure to Harry Kane's exact measurements and requirements. Now typically players do have slightly different sized feet from their left to their right. Now the boots themselves do not contain any size labels at all because they are not a generic size. They are completely custom made for Kane, so therefore they do not apply any size labels inside. Now you may be wondering where this pair are actually made, so the indication on this is on the insoles. So if we take a look at the right boot, it states made in Italy with the Nike swoosh, and then if we take a look at the left insole, it states athlete service MB. MB stands for Montebluna, which is the location in Italy in which the athlete services factory is placed. Now, in this factory is where they actually make all of their top sponsored players' boots to their exact measurements and requirements. Now, in terms of personalisation, Nike have actually added Kane's children's names along with their dates of birth to each boot, along with his name and national flag. So you'll notice on the left boot it states Ivy, which is Harry Kane's daughter's name, along with her date of birth. Then Vivi on the right boot, which is his second daughter's name. And if we flip the boots over, you'll notice it states Louis on the left boot, along with his date of birth on the right boot. Now, in terms of overall shape, this pair are actually seemingly rather odd in terms of their shape. So whilst the length is not actually at that long, they're incredibly wide and of a much higher profile than what you would expect from a standard pair. The internal volume is massive, and you can actually notice there are certain bulges in the upper which you would imagine certain parts of his feet would slot right into, which just shows how specifically these boots have been made. Now, if we take a look at the lacing system, you'll notice there's a line of stitching which runs from the top all the way around, right up to the top on the other side. Now, this is due to the fact that there is a completely custom interior lining on this pair, which we'll get onto later in the video. So this line of stitching, whilst it also applies it to the upper itself, it also prevents overstretch from the upper. Here's a closer look at the insoles themselves. So again, you'll notice the Nike swoosh made in Italy on the right, with the Montebluna logo on the left. Now, this pair do feature a black nylon type of material lining. They are actually slightly thicker than what you find on a retail version Phantom GT Elite. However, Nike have actually shaven down the contoured finish on the midfoot. This is due to the fact that there is actually a custom insole board built inside each boot, which we'll get onto next. Okay, so if we take a look inside the boots, you'll notice straight away that the insole board itself is totally different to what you'd find on a retail version pair of Phantom GT Elite. So the material itself is actually consistent throughout. It's made of a plastic composite, which is actually extremely stiff and thicker than what you'd find on a standard pair. Now, players typically have this to reinforce the sole plate and provide further stability. They do not like the flimsy feel of standard boots, so typically players do have this built into most of their boots. Not just Nike, players across all brands such as Adidas and Puma do also have this. Now, you'll notice the number there written 991. This is the Footlast ID number of Harry Kane inside this Montebluna factory. They write this in there to identify the boots as Harry Kane's or the player that they're manufacturing, because they do not apply size labels, so that refers to the Footlast mould that they have been made around. That's just that line of stitching which we mentioned just now, running around the lacing system. The material itself is a black nylon material, which is actually incredibly soft, which runs the entirety of the interior lining from the midfoot forwards. Now, you'll notice there are certain areas which feature additional padding. These are there at Harry Kane's request. So the instep area features an extremely thick cushioned padding, and as does the lateral side of the upper. There is also an additional padded area inside the toe box. Now, whilst this modification may not show up that great on video, in person it's actually very distinctive. So you'll notice the heel curvature at the rear of the boot is actually slightly overhung over the sole plate. Now, that is actually on purpose. Many players have this, including Cristiano Ronaldo. If we take a look inside the boot, you'll notice there's an additional area just behind the insole board there, which features a quite substantial amount of glue. This will be due to the fact that Harry Kane's sole plate is slightly shorter than his feet themselves. This is on purpose. Players do tend to like the overhang of a heel area. It's not a benefit, not a modification that would benefit everyone. However, players do request this from time to time. This pair formed part of Harry Kane's boot stock for the Euro 2020 tournament. Unfortunately, they did remain unworn. However, it is incredibly rare to find any of Harry Kane's boots anywhere at all in the market. There's not a single pair of his boots that's actually come out anywhere in the hands of collectors or anywhere at all. since the 2017-18 season, which was the last of the Hypervenom Phantom Silo. I hope you all enjoyed this up-close insight to Harry Kane's custom boots. It's an incredibly rare seen thing before. It's not actually anything that's widely spoken about, and it is really, really interesting to see what modifications players at the top level have to their boots to make them different to the standard retail versions. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Please give it a like if you did, and subscribe to the channel for more upcoming videos.